Alright, I'm back. Being honest, this is actually my second take. I just tried to do a first take and I completely forgot what I was talking about, like, right away. But, I was saying that, just got done working out. Not a brag, just a statement. And, sorry if you're offended by my looks right now or whatever, but when I say I don't care a lot of times what people think of me, I mean, I'm being honest. I hope people are here to listen to me talk because people think I have good opinions, but hey, if you just want to watch me because you're attracted to me or both, thank you. I appreciate male and female compliments always. I don't understand guys that get offended when they're hit on by gay men. I mean, it's literally a compliment. Like, somebody is attracted to how you look. Isn't that what you want? Are you not comfortable enough with your own sexuality that's offensive? There's a lot to unpack there. You know what I mean? But I've had gay men, I don't think ever in person, but definitely message me and offer me sexual advances, and I thanked him. I was like, oh, thanks, that's a compliment, but I'm straight. It's just how it is. It's not a conscious decision I ever made. But this leads me into what I want to talk about. Everyone's favorite subject, identity politics. And spoiler alert, I don't think I ever have really hot takes. Like, I don't think most sensible opinions could be considered hot unless they're like hot takes. I mean, unless they're so far ahead of their time, which has happened in history. But nowadays, I feel like it's very hard to have a hot take that's not just some like really racist, sexist, whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like most sensible opinions are not hot takes. So I don't think I'll ever have hot takes. But of course, I think most sensible people could agree that identity politics is like borderline pathological. On both sides, I think people's way of thinking has a lot to do with false dichotomies, which means, it sounds like a fancy word, but it's not. A false dichotomy is thinking you only have two options, you know, either I'm gay or I'm straight. When you could be both, you could be bi. There's very seldom is there just two options, you know, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. There's a continuum. Autism, anything is a continuum pretty much. And that's what's important to understand is like, I'm not trying to, a really good word, obfuscate, which means purposefully complicate things that aren't complicated. I'm not trying to obfuscate subjects. I'm just telling you that a lot of things are quite complicated, okay? That doesn't mean we can't simplify them with good models, which, spoiler alert, a lot of science is just models. We will never capture reality 100% accurately, but we can have pretty good models that approximate it. And that's how you have to think of things, you know. Again, we're all living together in this society, whether we like it or not. So the main objective is just to live together as well as we can. So there's no objective, this is the best way to do things, but clearly there are ways to do things that are better than other ways, considering our objective is to live in as close to harmony as we can, but there are obvious realities to things. So identity politics is just completely absurd. I don't know why you would ever want to be a victim. Why do you want people to pity you? That there's some pathological things going on. I do think almost all of us are mentally ill to some degree. It's hard to say. But I'll give you a specific example. If you take animals out of the wild, even animals like snakes that we don't consider, you know, intelligent thinking beings, they will start to exhibit pathological behaviors that are not normal, okay? And I've mentioned in previous videos that we are not living in the circumstances that we evolved to live in. So there are going to be some pathologies associated with that. which is what I was trying to say with the pet thing. If you take an animal that has lived wild, out of the wild and put them in an enclosure, they will start to exhibit pathological behaviors. So a lot of times I think we struggle as a species because we're fighting. There's a lot going on in our subconscious. It's difficult to even talk about the subconscious because by definition we're not aware of it. But in case you didn't know, your thalamus is processing so much information, from your internal organs, heart, anything, and you're not aware of these things. So there is a subconscious, but how do we talk about it when the field is rife with misinformation? A lot of, like Freud psychology is just bullcrap. But maybe he hit on some truths. Again, truths don't necessarily exist in reality. We think a very specific way, and it's hard to be aware of it sometimes because it's a complicated subject. You understand? But we can ponder things that are seemingly impossible to ponder. I'll give you a specific example. I spend a lot of time trying to think objectively and specifically differently than a normal person would think, to see if there is another view to approach problems. I mean, it takes effort. It really does take effort to become self-aware and control your ego and stuff. It's hard, you guys. It's not easy. It takes effort, which is why really smart people sometimes can't think like people that haven't studied to the extent they have, because they have not thought like the average person in so long that they can no longer empathize. I hope that made sense. But I'll give you another example. Sometimes my grievances with professors is yeah, you're a smart guy, but you can't teach for crap because you can't think like students that are seeing stuff for the first time. You can no longer completely empathize with beginning students. And it makes professors bad professors, even if they really know what they're talking about. Maybe they just can't convey it. You understand? There's a lot of complexity in people. We are very complicated. But yet we can be simple or, reasonably understood. A lot of people aren't even, aware of themselves. You see a lot of people getting to retirement age and they don't know what they're about. They have no hobbies. A lot of them, could start, drinking more alcohol and, get depressed and stuff. It takes effort. You have to think critically, try to analyze yourself from other people's perspectives. And you'll never be perfect. In fact, if you're quite delusional, other people can know you better than you can know yourself. Isn't that weird? If I thought I was a pirate, there's something probably pathological going on if I thought I was literally a pirate from the 1700s. Everyone else that technically knew me better than I knew myself, because they knew I wasn't a pirate, but I didn't know that. You understand? It is quite complex to think of a lot of this stuff, but it's worth it. Just because something is strenuous does not mean it's not worth it. I just think a lot of people lack self-control too. I'm not saying I have perfect self-control. Trust me, I am well aware. In fact, I just quit electronic vapes after 5 years of just continual use, heavy use. I lost control of myself and I was struggling mentally, and I think I'm in a better place now, but nobody's perfect. Which is why I make these videos. I try to get people to think differently, and I really do. I wish the best for a lot of people, but people are really frustrating to deal with. And identity politics, coming back to subject. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. It is extremely frustrating, and I think everyone's wrong, which is usually the case. You see a lot of, with the identity politics, there's a lot of gender obsession, which to me, just it screams pathology. Like, I never think of my gender. I don't like, it's not an important part of who I am. I'm not bragging. I'm not saying that's the best approach. I'm just saying it's hard for me to empathize with people that like want to be victims and want everyone to feel sorry for them. That's pathological. I'm just gonna say it. I can never prove it's pathological, but it doesn't seem healthy. And I think a lot of trans people would agree. I don't know really any trans people, I don't think, but I feel like I'm empathetic enough that, okay, I can never relate to them, but I can respect them as humans because they are humans, okay? They're not perfect. I think a lot of trans people are still confused, and I think a lot of them have really bad opinions. But I'm not saying that like conservatives don't have bad opinions. Everyone has really bad opinions, I think. Unless it's people that have really contemplated. I mean, again, I'm not like trying to humble brag or anything, but I've spent hours and hours thinking about this stuff because it's important to me. And so when I go up and I try to argue with somebody that has never really thought about it and just taken their opinions, copy and paste from wherever they read on whatever bigot website, like, it's hard to have a real conversation. I think a lot of people are really fragile too. Which again, I've spent a lot of time trying to wrestle my ego into submission, but I'll always have an ego. I don't think it's possible. Okay, again, I'm gonna try not to say stuff like that. I think it's unlikely that you could not have an ego. You have to have some kind of self-awareness, and clearly it's important to humans because identity politics, gender, race, all kinds of stuff is really important to people. And literally, I could care less about a lot of that stuff. I'm just a person, man. I'm just trying to live a good life. And like, I can get why people really care about this stuff. Because again, I've said it in previous videos. I don't think humans can live together very well. So a lot of people need to feel like they belong. Because we're social beings. We need to feel loved and accepted. Some people more so than others. I do think it's possible that people really don't need a lot of affection. I need affection for sure, but maybe certainly less so than other people. But yeah, identity politics is really toxic, and I think there's a lot of pandering. Like these big companies, like Netflix, they've almost become like a meme because, like every show, there's like a trans, black, whatever. Like, relax. That's forced, okay? I think we're evolving as a society where we're starting to realize, at least as Americans, of course I'm biased as an American because this is all I know. I have traveled to Europe and I've done a lot of research on foreign countries and stuff. Not a humble brag or anything. It's just like I'm interested in that stuff. So I've tried to research it. But I'm biased as I'm an American speaking one language, you know, as a male, straight male, cishet, I don't know how to say it, but identity politics is just bad. So many people are just wrong. Just respect each other. Respect other people, man. We're all, at the end of the day, humans. We'll always have more in common than we don't. You don't have to love everyone, and that's crap. I don't think that's possible. In fact, like, even I'm desensitized, I think, to like school shootings and COVID and all that stuff because it's just continually forced down our throats. And I think humans react when something's forced on them. They react like, oh, you know, it's like if you force something too hard on somebody, they're gonna resist. It's how people are. So when you have something like cancel culture, there's gonna be a harsh reaction to cancel culture because cancel culture is harsh. You understand? And they're both sides are wrong. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as complete freedom of speech, okay? Why are people delusional about things like this? We do not live in a purely capitalist society. A purely capitalist society would be disaster. And study history, you will see where the disaster happened. Trusts. You ever heard of trust busting? It's a big part of American history. Do your research, okay? There's no pure capitalism. There's no pure communism. Communism doesn't even have a good definition. Do you guys understand? So there's so many false dichotomies that people box themselves in. Break out of the false dichotomy box. There's not always cut and dry black and white answers. Most of the time, there's a continuum, okay? So, identity politics, crap. Everyone's a victim, okay? Everyone's been abused by other humans in some way, verbal, physically. I'm not discrediting victims. I am privileged. I have less trauma than a lot of people. I acknowledge that, you understand? But if you're a victim, there's always going to be people that have had it worse than you. So stop feeling sorry for yourself, you know? Try to acknowledge the pathologies that you have. Do research. Go to a doctor if you're still struggling with mental health. Do not be ashamed. There's a lot of stigmas with drugs. Gosh, that's a whole video that I would love to talk about. Drug stigma stuff. People are just extremely ignorant on these issues, okay? And ignorant has a negative connotation. It's a limitation of language. But when I say ignorant, I mean you literally don't know anything about a subject and you have an opinion on it. That is a problem. You are very ignorant. I am very ignorant. We're all ignorant. You can't know everything. It's impossible. That I can confidently say is impossible. You cannot learn everything. Because we don't know stuff that happened 1,000 years ago. That's so recent in the history of the universe. Do you understand? I get passionate about these things because people don't know what they don't know. Obviously. And when you try to tell people, listen, you are ignorant, I'm trying to be respectful, people just like immediately like want to fight or something. Like, take a deep breath. I'm not better than you. I'm not saying that. People really need to critically think, and it takes effort. It takes time. I could never expect somebody to know everything that I do. There's people that know so much more than me. Ugh. But still, the smartest person that has ever existed as a human still doesn't know crap. That's the point. Thank you so much for watching.